Welcome to Ike's Flame. Join us on another Star Wars adventure. Punch it, Chewie. Hey y'all, Ike here, and thanks for joining us for another episode this week. And we're gonna have part one of a two-part interview. So today we're gonna have on Avela, and Avela is a cosplayer. She does specifically Mando stuff. She has some really cool stuff coming up. She'll have some YouTube videos out here in a bit. We'll have all that stuff down in the link or down in the description and all that good stuff. So check all that out. But I'm excited. Please join us here as we dive into this interview with Avela and the cosplay that she is doing. All right, guys, we got a guest on today, and I'm super excited to introduce you to her. And we're gonna just discuss Star Wars. And she does some cosplay, so we'll talk specifically about that and dive into that. And so, just super excited to have another person who loves Star Wars on the show and hanging out. How are you doing?
I am doing very good, thank you.
Good, good. And Avela is who is joining us today. And so as we get going, Avela, just like tell me a little bit about like how you got into Star Wars, what piqued your interest, and like that sort of thing, even if it was from like when you were a kid or what that looked like.
Yeah, so I first got introduced to Star Wars pretty much from the Lego games, from the complete
Okay,
saga.
yeah.
That's my very first memory of Star Wars, but back then I didn't watch the movies, I just played the games. I liked the
Yeah.
games, but actually at that point in my life I didn't really watch movies at all.
Okay.
But then actually when Force Awakens came out, my dad went to see it and he got really excited about Star Wars, so he
Yeah.
wanted to share with me and my siblings.
Okay.
So that Christmas 2015, he made me and my siblings watch all the movies, and we went to the cinema to watch Force Awakens. And pretty
Yeah.
much since then, I was just hooked. It was just, I think, the perfect time to
Yeah.
watch it. I was 13.
Okay.
It was just the perfect age to be introduced to it. And yeah, been just my life since then, pretty much.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, um, yeah, because that was, yeah, I know that was kind of the revamping of Star Wars, like material coming back out, especially anything that was either shows or movies and that sort of thing. So you're kind of a newer Star Wars fan in the sense that kind of Force Awakens and all that got you involved. So that's awesome. Was there any like I know you mentioned the Lego games, but also like was there anything like as you watched like the movies initially and as you watched Force Awakens and all that, that was like, is there just what about that specifically that like stuck out to you? Like, oh, like this is really cool, or this like just kind of sucked you into the whole universe?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think honestly, the first or the main thing was the story of Anakin Skywalker and the redemption, and
Yeah,
like because we watched them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
yeah,
So then I remember Revenge of the Sith just completely wrecked me. I was so sad after
yeah,
watching that,
yeah.
and then I couldn't sleep until we watched Return of the Jedi, and I was just
Hmm.
so happy after that. And I think that's like it's such a powerful story. That's just
Yeah,
the
yeah,
core of Star Wars, and yeah,
yeah,
that's still to this day probably my favorite thing
yeah,
about Star Wars.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you're so you watched Phantom Menace first? Was that the
Yeah.
first one you saw? Okay, so you're probably in a small group of people that have actually seen them in like Star Wars chronological order.
Yeah.
So like that's pretty cool though, because I think that is a unique view that a lot of people don't get because a lot of us had watched the originals and then watched that. So yeah, that's awesome. I think the other thing that you mentioned was just super cool. When I interview people, I feel like a lot of people talk about this is that somebody in their family were the ones that like introduced them to it or got them. And I know you mentioned your dad.
Yeah.
So that just seems to be a common theme of, um, which is kind of cool. Like it's a family
Yeah.
thing, and I think it gives more value when you like share it with somebody or be able to do that, which is cool.
Yeah, passing the tradition to your kids.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so like for me, like my brother, one of my brothers is a big Star Wars fan, and so like we connect over that a lot. And so
Yeah,
that
that's
just
awesome.
allows us to he's actually been on my podcast a couple times and as a guest, and so it's just a fun way to connect with others. So that's one part of the reason I love about Star Wars community. So we'll get to cosplay, but before we do, like, is there anything like I know like watching the movies, and have you watched all of the like what am I trying, the series and things? Have you like
Yeah,
caught
I've
up
watched
to like
everything that I possibly
everything caught
can.
up? Yeah, yeah, okay. Do you have a favorite series or couple series that are like, oh, like these are my favorites to watch, or like you really enjoy?
I would say it has to be the Clone Wars 2008. It's just, I just
Yeah,
love it. It's,
yeah,
I love the era of the Clone Wars,
yeah,
and yeah, it's just perfect.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I know, and I was gonna guess that maybe after you say like just loving the story arc of Anakin and like that plays such a big
Yeah.
role in that. I know a lot of people who love Anakin also love the Clone Wars, so those go hand in hand, definitely. And so yeah, yeah. So in it's even like so I know like you mentioned Clone Wars. What about some of the newer series? Do you have like are any of the like Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Andor, um, any of those that like yeah like I really love watching one of these over the others.
Yeah, I would say The Mandalorian
Hmm.
is out of them my favorite. I'm not so sure if I like what Disney's doing right now with Star Wars, but The
Yeah,
Mandalorian is definitely quality content. I
yeah,
love watching The
yeah,
Mandalorian.
yeah. It is good. It is very good. Yeah, and I know we're kind of right now we're in a waiting game for more stuff to
Yeah.
come out. I know we have like Acolyte and um, what's the other one?
Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, Skeleton Crew is
Yeah.
supposed to come out in this coming year, here in 2024, and so it'll be I'll be interested to see what those are. Do you and then like are you excited for those, or you're just kind of like oh we'll see what it is, or
Yeah, I think at this point I'm not gonna really expect too much because
yeah
I've been let down a bit too many times.
yeah
So I think honestly I'm not even gonna watch them immediately. I'm gonna wait and see if it's sort of worth it
yeah
because
yeah kind of
I
see
don't
what
want to watch
happens.
something that like
Yeah
makes me feel bad or
yeah
something.
yeah
So
yeah yeah definitely. So I mean I know you were you not a huge fan of Ahsoka? I'm just curious.
no, I mean parts of it was like super good, but
Yeah
then on other parts it just didn't really it doesn't like compare to the originals or to the
yeah
prequels
yeah
or
yeah yeah.
yeah, and I don't like what they did with, for example, Sabine. I don't like that she's force sensitive, and I don't like Filoni's remarks about everyone can be a Jedi and these kinds of things. So
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just has it's unfortunate because like for example, Anakin Hayden back as Anakin was just amazing,
yeah,
and some of the like costume work and the new characters were really great, and then
yeah,
but then overall, when you have those very important story things and lore things that just go wrong, then it kind of ruins the whole thing. So it's very
yeah,
unfortunate.
yeah, yeah. And I know those were Sabine was a controversial thing within that and how all that played out. Um, and then I enjoyed it, but I will also say like even the ending for me was a little weird, like with Sabine or no Ahsoka getting stuck like
Yeah.
yeah, like I mean, it's like Ahsoka's still there, not like, and then so I don't know, it's just like it. I was not expecting that, and so just that whole thing just seemed a little odd to me, and how all
Yeah.
that played out. So,
Yeah. We were
which
like in season or the almost the last episode, and I was thinking like, okay, how is this gonna end? Like, there is no way they
yeah,
can wrap this up in one episode.
yeah, I know. It
So
just
I
seemed like
think
there's
they
a
just had a they sort of planned for a season two at least, but I mean we don't
yeah,
know if they are even gonna make a season two. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, I assume at this point, yeah, they're planning. I feel like with that ending, you have to plan on a season two, like you said. So,
yeah.
yeah, definitely. No, yeah, that's. I know. Yeah, those can. That there's some mixed feelings about. I know people that like loved Ahsoka. I know other people that were hesitant about it and just kind of in the middle as well. So yeah, definitely. Um, I know you mentioned. So have you gotten into any like books or other sorts of like media with Star Wars that you've like really picked up and love?
Yeah, well, mainly it's been like video games. Battlefront
Okay.
15 was huge for me. It's still one of my absolute favorite games ever. And then through that, I also started with the Inferno Squad book that came out before Battlefront
Mm.
2018.
Yeah, yeah,
And then from there, just have read, I mean, a fair share of books,
yeah,
mainly canon, but I want to start reading like Legends material. I feel like that's going to
yeah,
be
yeah,
more my my style at this point.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, Legends. I love Legends material. Super. I dove into a lot of it. And I think it sounds like you would really like Legends material. So I'd recommend that.
Is there
But
some specific one you would recommend to
yeah,
start with?
I say if you go back and listen to my podcast, I have some other episodes that are specific for books and things. I think. Um, I'm just thinking, like, I think you would like. I know you're like, I know you mentioned like Clone Wars and that kind of era, like,
Yeah.
even like Darth Plagueis, the Legends
Yeah.
book, and just kind of that background on that, and that might be something you would enjoy. Um, I also think for me, I love like Old Republic stuff, and like all that. So like for me personally, one of my favorite like groups of legends books is the Darth Bane trilogy.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It is excellent, and I think it's Drew Karpyshyn who writes it. He does a fantastic job. Um, I hope someday that um, comes on screen to some degree, or is brought up. But like it is that Darth Bane trilogy. But I like any of those old Republic ones are super good. And it just kind of dive. I think the other fun thing with those is they dive into a different era of Star Wars, which is fun as well. So yeah. So if you like Thrawn, the Legends trilogy of Thrawn is good.
Oh, yeah.
So that's those are always fun as well. So, but yeah, there's a lot out there. Yeah, Plagueis might be a good one. Darth Bane trilogy is really good. Like some of the Revan and Old Republic ones are good. I know I gave you quite a few there, but those would be good ones to dive into. And I think just get a taste of it is of what Legends is and what all they do in Legends. So they're a lot of fun. And so yeah, and there's a lot there. Other thing I would mention, and I'm always a proponent for this because I've really kept on it, and I don't know if um, have you gotten into the High Republic stuff at all?
Yeah, I have read
Yeah.
the first phase of it, I think.
Okay, first phase. Okay. What do you think of it? Did you like it?
I mean, I'm not exactly sure because
Okay.
I really liked some of the new ideas and some of the
Yeah.
characters, but there was still some parts where I wasn't sure if it felt Star Wars enough for me. But overall, I think it was good, and I'm looking forward to see what they will do in terms of like actual shows like the Acolyte and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'll
Yeah.
see if I'm gonna go back to read like the, is it like I think phase 2 at the moment or something?
So they actually just released. So yeah, they finished phase two. They just released the first novel in phase three
Oh, okay.
in November. So I'm about halfway through that book right now. But um, yeah, so I really enjoy it. But I know it's kind of a different style of Star Wars, which I think there's good and bad that comes with that.
Yeah.
But I will be interested to see what they do with the shows like Acolyte and if they have anything else that's in that time frame
Yeah.
as well. So yeah,
Yeah, because I think the thing they did kind of wrong with the High Republic was the marketing, because the way they marketed it was really boring, honestly, and I
yeah,
didn't really want to get into it, but then I was like, why not? And then when I read the book, the first one, what is it? I don't remember. The Light of the Jedi is the first one.
Yeah, I think Light of the Jedi is the very first
Yeah,
one.
and
Yeah,
when I read it, I was like, okay, wow, this is actually good. Why did
yeah,
they market it in such a
yeah,
boring
yeah,
way?
yeah. I know. I would agree with that. Their marketing strategy hasn't been great, but
No.
most of the people I've talked to are like, "Oh, this is actually pretty good stuff."
Yeah.
And so I also think if they get some like screen time around that, even if it's Acolyte or some of the like any else, I think that would also help their like help people be more interested in the High Republic. Because right now it's all comics or um, like books, so it's a lot of people who read
Yeah.
or things like that. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
and then people don't give it an actual chance because I don't
yeah,
know if you remember with Geode, everyone was saying like, "Oh, it's so stupid, it's a rock that's talking." But
yeah,
in the book, it just I think it's really well done and it makes sense. I don't see
yeah,
why people were so. I mean, they were taking it out of context, but
yeah,
sort
yeah,
of people don't even want to give it a chance because people are sort of just taking out things and being like, "This is dumb," but they
yeah,
don't see
yeah,
the whole picture.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
unfortunate because there's some really good like. Artistry and just work put into those
yeah, yeah.
stories.
Yeah, I would agree. I've actually been really impressed with how they've collaborated, how all those authors work together, and what they've done with that. It's been pretty impressive. And I
Yeah.
love Geode. He is funny. I always say when I know Geode's coming up, I'm probably gonna laugh just because it's goofy. But like you said, like it is kind of like a talking rock that seems weird, but it's also like I think for me, it's also one of those things of like with Star Wars. I feel like part of it is there's a mystery to Star Wars, or like a mystery,
Yeah.
or like a I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but just this like uh, distant, different world or universe. And so like yeah, Talking Rock might sound kind of funny, but you're also in Star Wars, so I feel like we got to give that a chance and like
Yeah.
jump into that because
Yeah.
we see all kinds of things in Star Wars that aren't typical. And
Yeah.
that's part of being in a different universe and enjoying diving into that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
definitely. Um, so two other questions. I know mentioned you play some video games. So are
Yeah.
there any like currently or like past like just video games you're like, oh, I really loved these video games or like highly recommend?
Well, I mean, for me, the main big one was Battlefront 2015, so the EA
Okay.
Battlefront.
Yeah, yeah.
And since I mean, I when I got into Star Wars 2015, it had just come out,
Mhm.
and then I actually like used all my savings to buy a PlayStation
Okay.
and a screen so I could play it. And I've played that game for like so many hours,
Yeah.
and I think it's just so well made. The maps are so accurate to the movies,
Yeah.
and all. It's just yeah, I just love that game. And then when Battlefront 2 came out, it was kind of disappointing to me because they took away a lot of the
Yeah.
like customization in terms of play style, and then like just overall it didn't really like be up to par with the first one in a way, even
Yeah.
though I was really looking forward to having some Clone Wars era content
Yeah.
and play some clones versus droids and stuff, but it just didn't feel the same. It
Yeah.
didn't have the same like authenticity and the same feeling of Star Wars in a way. So
Yeah.
yeah, after that I
Definitely
haven't really
jumped into
played
any.
like yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, no, Battlefront is good. I know for me, I love the original Battlefronts from like the mid thousands. I don't know when they came out exactly, but old school. Like those were super fun for me. I remember playing those growing up. But yeah, yeah, there's a lot of good ones. I mean, I would recommend even I don't know if you've gotten into the Fallen Order with Cal Kestis
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
Like,
I've played Fallen Order. Yeah,
okay,
it's
those are
good.
pretty solid games. Hey, y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed part one of this interview and the conversation that Avela and I had. And I hope that you guys come back for part two on Friday. Come hang out with us and see what Avela's has going on. I'm as I've talked to her, I'm really intrigued about a few things that she's doing. So make sure you come back, hang out,
and see what the rest of this interview is all about. Light the fire.